I like chatting online.
I have more online friends than real-life ones. I'm both an introvert and chronically ill, so I rarely leave the house. I sometimes start chatting to listen to people. I sometimes try networking. I want to be a great horror author one day. I regret being so eager to chat now. I chat with a British dude living in the Netherlands with his partner. He's nice to talk to. I was checking Reddit to see if he had replied to any of my messages. He hadn't, so I went to check the paranormal subreddit. I scrolled down several banana lengths, and I found a new post, not even half an hour old. It was recruiting people to join a group, an organization. I clicked on the link, and it led me to a strange site. It was well designed, but very weird. I didn't meet their requirements to apply, and it gave me the impression of a scam. I thought they were posing as a European secret society, in a subreddit full of people they deemed impressionable, to scam people. Well aware of this, I looked for a way to contact them. They called themselves the Watchers, or Les Veilleurs. I found a form at the bottom of the landing page, and I wrote a snarky and mocking message. I accused them of using conspiracy theories to attract clicks. I made fun of them. I didn't expect any reply, but a few days later, I checked my inbox. The header said, "Me, admin." The person replied with their name. I can only give their last name, Dubois. He was friendly and addressed my questions. He said he had been ignorant when he was my age, but soon learned that the world worked differently. He debunked all the conspiracy theories that my father had tried to force on me. He said that the truth was darker, as it did not fit models or paradigms. We started corresponding back and forth. I found it interesting. I looked, and I couldn't find a trace of the group when I typed it into Google. The site didn't come up when I searched for it. I looked for the post on Reddit as well. There was no trace of them. I did find a connection to a chemical company called Dubois. It was rather ordinary. They were legitimate. They were headquartered in Belgium and were a rich family. They owned a chateau located in the Ardennes forest. There were no pictures of it online though, and its Wikipedia article was a stub. I asked him about this. I am a sucker for history. What girl doesn't like a castle? He didn't reply. For a while. I sent him 2 more emails. Nothing. I asked a few people online. Most had no idea of what I was talking about. A Belgian man, living in England, spoke of horrible crimes being committed at their castle. Murders, sexual assault, torture, and witchcraft. He said that he had lost his sister to the cult. He said that they liked to lure victims using job postings, and suspected their post in the paranormal subreddit served the same purpose. He said they were too elitist to look for members among the common people. He told me that they had the police in their pocket and to not bother. He said that its roots ran deep, that it had connections to a group of witches from the Victorian era. I told my sister about it, as I tell her everything. She said it was likely a scam or something dangerous. I agreed. I forgot about the whole affair. I was checking my inbox one day, and I was excited because my strange connection had responded. I opened it, and I was shocked. He sent a document with screenshots of my conversations with my Belgian friend. He said I knew too much, and that if I were more important, I would have been taken out already. I took it as a compliment that my lack of importance and poverty had saved my skin. He threatened to kill me if I did more digging. He gave my exact address, my father's workplace's address, his number, my mother's number. He gave the address of my sister's high school. I had graduated 3 years earlier. My weak heart began beating very fast. I was beyond terrified. I would die for my family. If I led to their deaths, I would hate myself forever. I sometimes like to watch news from other countries. I saw it on France 24. A Belgian man had been found dead in mysterious circumstances. I saw his name and I froze. It was the man I had corresponded with. I knew that I had to take the threats seriously. I got one more threatening email. He told me that I would end up like my friend. It was one of the most terrifying experiences of my life. Be careful who you talk to online, I beg you.
It's creepy.
I don't like it, James said, still carefully scanning the photo despite his statements. I sat in silence. I thought the photo was creepy as well, but not to the extent that James did. I just wasn't so sure what it was about the photo that scared him as badly as it did.
I think it's interesting, I said, curling my finger.
He caught the motion and handed the photo back to me. You would, wouldn't you, Tony? He gave me a light push. I said. Well, I went to check my mail, like I usually do. I open it up and it's just there. No other mail either. I mean, makes sense considering it's Sunday, but still.
So it just appeared in your mailbox, James asked.
Bullshit. You already saw it yourself, I said. It's just the photo, nothing more. That, and there's no return address. The statement sent a small chill throughout my body. I'd known from the moment I examined it a little more closely that it had to have been placed directly in my mailbox, but it still unnerved me to know that whoever had given me this photograph knew where I lived.
Yeah, he said. I mean, who do you think could have put it in there?
He was tapping his foot rapidly on the floor now. I could feel the slight vibrations of it in the couch.
Well, I don't know anyone who could have taken it.
I mean, Ben's pretty good at taking pictures, but he just does it for fun. And I couldn't begin to tell you how, well, this. I pointed at the figure in the photograph. James took it back and looked at it again. Yeah, he said, I just can't. It's so freaky. I didn't know if he'd meant to do it, but James put the photograph in his jacket pocket. Must have done it unconsciously. Hey, I tried to say. James cut me off. I mean, who takes a photograph like that? He said. It's weird. You think you'll be all right? You're a little more used to looking at this stuff than I am. I opted to give up on notifying him. He'd find out that he had the photo when he emptied his pockets, and then he'd surely give it back to me. Well, I won't dwell on it for too much longer, I said. I mean, if they put it in my mailbox, they probably know me personally, yeah? I'll just throw the photo away and go on with my life. Not a big deal. James' face shifted from slightly creeped out to his default neutral look. Yeah, okay. I think that's a good way to go about it. He got up from my couch and went over to the entrance hallway of my apartment. I think I'm gonna go. That photo's got me wigged out. I got up and walked over to him. All right, man, I said. Sorry if I really creeped you out with that. It's just, I thought it was interesting and that you'd like it, with you being into horror and all. Can't believe I'm saying this, he said. But I think, for once, that was too much. Too, not human. I don't know. It's fucking weird, man. He out his shoes on and went to open the door. I tried to apologize to him again. Hey man, I really am sorry. Just don't be too mad at me. He opened the door and began to walk out. Just before he left, he turned around. Well, I'm not mad now, but I can't say I won't be mad if I get nightmares. Dick, I said. Later. He left and the door closed, leaving me alone in my apartment with some questions. Mostly, questions regarding the photograph. I didn't have to worry about looking at it, as the first thing I did when I received it was take a photo of it on my actual phone. I didn't do much for the rest of the day. Not enjoyable stuff, anyways. I cleaned the apartment, reorganized some stuff, watched some TV, did laundry, and eventually made dinner. After I ate, I sat down at my desk in my room and thought about what I'd do for the rest of the night. That was when I thought of the photograph again. I thought of how creepy it looked and what it made me feel. I felt the need to examine it a little closer. I pulled out my phone, turned the brightness all the way up, and set it down on my desk. I went to my phone gallery and selected the photo. A shudder ran down my spine. Similarly to the first time I saw the photo, it was jarring and caught me off guard. I'll do my best to describe what was in the photograph. The first thing I noted was the lack of light. The photograph was very clearly taken at night, but there was something else. The atmosphere was gloomy, eerie. There wasn't a star in the sky, nor the moon. The only light in the photo, seemingly, was the flash on the camera it was taken with. It looked like the photograph was taken just a few hundred feet away from the entrance of a forest. The trees were dark, but not so much that I couldn't make out what they were. They were thick, too. Thick trunks, thick leaves. They smothered the space in the forest and made it impossible to see what was inside it. There was one thing I could see, though, and it was what shook James so badly. On the far left of the photograph, almost impossible to make out, was a man standing just in front of the forest entrance. Well, calling him a man wouldn't exactly be the correct way of going about it. He looked like a man, mostly. He wore blue jeans and a green t-shirt, but that was the extent to which he was clothed. His legs and one of his arms were mostly normal-sized, albeit a bit lanky. His right arm was too long for a normal human body. The area near his legs was hard to make out, but his arm drooped down to it, and I couldn't see where it ended. His chest was normal too, but his head, I could see why it had scared James so badly. The man's head looked too big for his body. He had hair, but it was wispy and downy, like a newborn's. His head was the only part that was big, though. Everything else was too small. His eyes were tiny. If I had to estimate, I'd say that, in comparison to the rest of his head, they looked like small olives. They were pure white and looked like they were just there. Not bordered in any color, just there. It was uncanny. His nose wasn't pronounced, if I could even call what he had a nose. It was more like he had nostrils in his face. Two slits way too far down from his eyes. Too far to be normal. His mouth couldn't be normal either. It was similar to his nose in that it wasn't pronounced, but rather a semi-large slit across his face. It was about 3.5 inches long. The mouth was parted, and his teeth didn't look solid. They seemed to be fat, pearly balls in his mouth. White, bulbous lumps, swollen and bulging from his gums. His ears were small too, but those weren't much to look at. I had to say, it felt a lot more frightening looking at the photo when the sun had set. It being light out earlier had given me some form of relief. I felt safe in the daylight. But now I felt vulnerable, like the thing in the photograph was watching me. I closed my blinds and locked my door. I got into my bed and kept the lights on. If it was dark, I might not have been able to get to sleep. Not that it mattered, because I ended up having a nightmare. At first, there was darkness. Then I was able to see. My heart began to thump rapidly when I found out where I was. I'd found myself in the location where the photo was taken. The complete lack of general light and the eerie atmosphere didn't help my increasing anxiety. What nearly pushed me over the edge was when I tried to move my legs and found I couldn't. I panicked and tried to move, but I couldn't do a thing. That was when I looked up. He wasn't where he was in the photo originally. He was moving. I could hear as his freakishly long arm dragged along the ground. He reached me. But before he could do anything, the nightmare ended and I woke up. I was sweaty and breathing heavily. When I realized that what had happened wasn't real, I fell back into the bed. Relieved, I fell into a slightly less terrifying slumber this time. That was yesterday. Today I woke up to the sounds of someone rapidly banging on my door. I got up and out of bed. I trudged towards the entrance of my apartment. I got to the door, unlocked it, and opened it. The first thing I saw was the photograph. James pushed it into my hands and started to speak frantically. I had a nightmare. Shit, I said. So did I. About him? He said. Yeah, I replied. What was yours? He asked. I was in the place the photo was taken. And he tried to do something to me. He didn't end up doing anything, but it still scared me, I replied. He was in my house, in mine. It felt so real. He opened my bedroom door and crawled on top of me. Felt like I was suffocating. I screamed and pushed him off. When I woke up, he was gone. Just a dream. Yeah, he said. I'm going home. Going to sleep so I won't be tired. You need to burn that photo. Now. Before I could answer, he was gone. I didn't do much today. Mostly just rested and prepared to burn that photograph. Haven't heard from James, probably because he's resting. I decided that I'd take the photo and burn it outside. Tonight, if the photograph would be gone, and James and I would be released from the nightmare. I decided that I'd do it after dinner. Just before I went outside, though, I thought of examining the photo one last time. I don't know why I did it, and I wish I hadn't, but I did. I sat down at my desk once more. I pulled out the photograph and examined it closely. I very quickly noticed that something was wrong. Something was off. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, though. I took another photo of the physical photograph. I opened up the photo editing app on my phone and layered the two together. I made the first layer visible and made the second invisible. Then I did the opposite. I looked and looked and looked until I found out what was wrong. It was on the far left side of the photograph. In the first picture I'd taken, the man was stood in front of the forest, his head still too large for his body. As I looked at the second photo, my heart sunk. I turned my phone off and looked at the physical photograph. The man was gone. It looked only like a photo of a creepy forest. My next move was to try and call James. I picked up my phone and went to his contact in my phone app. I clicked the call button and waited with bated breath. I only got a message.
It was either joining a gym or taking up hiking.
I wish I had joined a gym after my breakup with Carl, and after a much-needed period of shameless self-pity and wallowing. I knew that I needed to do something positive, get active again, and feel good about myself. I decided on hiking for a couple of reasons. I had never been an outdoorsy type, and I wanted to prove to myself that I could challenge myself. I had gotten so comfortable, too comfortable. I suppose in my relationship, it was time to get out of my comfort zone. Plus, I liked the idea of the solitude hiking would bring me. I needed time to think and reflect. Well, let's just say I didn't get that part right, but I definitely found myself out of my comfort zone. Way out of my comfort zone. After spending far too much on a pair of hiking boots, a day pack, and some other hiking gear, none of which would come in useful, as you'll see, I chose a trail about a 45-minute drive away from where I lived. I arrived early at the trailhead. The air was crisp and fresh, renewing even. I went inside the small ranger's station to sign in. Greeting me were two men, an older one with bushy gray eyebrows and gray hair in a ponytail, and a younger one, probably closer to my own early 30s age, with dark, slicked back hair. "Good morning," said Ponytail cheerily. "Lovely morning for a hike." I'd have to take his word for it, since this was my very first time hiking. But I smiled back cheerfully as he handed me a pen to sign the visitor's register. Ponytail explained a couple of rules to me. Stay on the designated path, leave and take nothing, and then he said something that made me pause. Now, we've been having a bit of a problem with a vagrant in the park. A woman. She's been hassling a few of the hikers. We don't know. He was cut off from the sound of a phone ringing in a room to the back of the reception area. He held up a finger to signal he'd be right back. This entire time, Slick had been sitting behind the counter on stool, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. He hadn't said a word until Ponytail left. "Listen here," he said quietly. "That's no woman in the park." "He knows it," he said, pointing at Ponytail on the call in the other room. "And I know it. What I am about to say might make you turn around and head straight for your car. But if it doesn't, and you still want to do the trail, then you've got to be careful." He kept his voice low, seemingly to keep Ponytail from overhearing him. "If you see her, or it, or whatever, it'll be in a tree. She's always in the trees. She'll try talking to you. Don't engage. Try not to even look up if you hear a voice coming from the trees. But if you can't help it, whatever you do, don't talk back to it. Just pretend it's not there and walk back to the trailhead and get in your car and drive away. If you see her a second..." "I'm only telling you this," he continued, "because no offense, I can see you're probably not the most experienced hiker." He looked me up and down, clocking my obvious never-used boots and Pack's waist belt harnessed too tightly around my middle. "And she seems to target people like you. The thing is, it looks like she's not just observing anymore, but..." He stopped abruptly as Ponytail came back into the room. Slick stared at me, his expression serious. "Right," said Ponytail. "Sorry about that. Now you have enough water? The round trip takes about 4 hours to complete, maybe 5 if you're not walking too fast or not used to the trail." I nodded, my head still spinning. Now, of course, this is the part I should have turned around and headed straight for my car. But the problem is, I'm terribly stubborn. With Ponytail's implied and Slick's outright judgment of my experience as a hiker, I was very determined to prove them wrong. In fact, 10 minutes into the hike, I had convinced myself that Slick was just trying to scare me off because he probably thought my inexperience would become a problem for him. Like I'd be dumb enough to go off trail or try pet a mountain lion. 30 minutes in, I noticed my boots began to hurt my feet a little. An hour in, the air had turned from crisp and refreshing to thick and oppressive, and the big toe on my left foot was absolutely throbbing. I didn't know how much determination I had left to keep me going forward. I found a bench a couple of minutes later and sat down. I immediately took off my boot and sock and examined the large raw blister forming on my toe. I hadn't brought a first aid kit and was cursing myself as I took a large gulp of water from my bottle. All of a sudden, I can't describe this any other way, I felt the presence of another person and instinctively looked at the trail. Sure, I'd see another hiker making their way around the bend. But there was no one. I held my breath, waiting. The forest was unnaturally still and quiet, as if it were holding its breath and waiting with me. And then I jumped violently, as a group of blackbirds exploded out of a tree, a ways down from where I had just come from, cawing angrily as they flew away. Maybe it was the pain, or the discomfort from the heat, or maybe I had started feeling spooked by what Slick had said. But I decided to get out of there, pulling my sock and boot on and packing away my water bottle in record speed. It would take me another hour to get back to my car, maybe a little longer as I had started limping a bit to keep the weight off my left foot. I still had the gnawing feeling that I wasn't alone, that any minute another hiker would appear on the path. Instead, I heard a soft hello from above. I did look. Of course I did. Anyone would. What I saw was an extremely thin, pale woman sitting on a low branch in the tree above me. Her arms were hugging the trunk, and it took me a moment to realize they must have been impossibly long, because they wrapped around the thick trunk almost entirely. My hands wouldn't have even met each other if I were to do it. Her fingers were long and splayed against the bark, ending in long, dirty nails. Her face will be burned into my memory forever. Her skin was so pale, almost completely white, and her eyes were a light milky blue, too big and too wide apart. She had long, stringy blonde, almost white hair. She was completely naked. "Are you in pain?" she asked in a cracked, wispy voice, and then she started smiling. I expected to see fangs in her mouth. Instead, she had the tiniest teeth, spaced apart in swollen pink gums. But they were sharp and pointy, like a crocodile. As her smile got wider and wider at my shock, I felt adrenaline fill my body. Slick's words echoed through my mind. Head back to the trailhead and get to my car. My heart pounding, my neck slick with sweat. I started walking, briskly, unsure if turning my back towards her was a terrible idea. I felt her eyes on me. I jogged, gritting my teeth through the pain for what could have been 5 minutes or 50. Please, God, I thought, don't let me see her again. My mind tried to reconcile with what it had just witnessed, but I pushed the thoughts out of my head. Worrying about that would dull my senses, and I sure needed all my wits about me to make it back to my car. It was impossible, but somehow she made it to a tree ahead of me. I stopped and felt my heart drop as a pale leg appeared from the thick canopy of a tree just 20 feet ahead. And then another leg appeared. She was climbing down. I started running, ducking as I flew past the tree she was coming down from. A long arm swooped down as I passed. I looked back and saw that she was at the bottom of the tree on all fours. Her propositions were human, but so wrong. She began to scuttle towards me like a crab with short, fast steps. She was covering ground at an alarming rate, and I knew there was no way I could outrun her. I made it to a clearing that I remembered was close to the parking lot. If I could just last 5 more minutes, I could maybe get to safety. And then I tripped, pain searing through my already bloody and blistered toes as they collided with a rock. I landed on my hands with a thud and waited for the inevitable. I was so sure it was about to happen, it took me a while to register. She wouldn't come into the clearing. She was staying in the shade of the trees, prowling, looking for a way to get to me. The sunlight seemed to be what had saved me. A million thoughts played out in my mind. I could stay in the clearing until someone else came along. But what if they couldn't help me? What if no one came at all? It would eventually get dark. I knew that after the clearing, for about 300 yards, the path was shaded by trees again before the trailhead. Could I make it if I sprinted? With stomach-churning dread, I knew I would have to try. I kept my eyes on her and started backing up, slowing. She stayed at the shade's edge, watching me, evaluating what I was doing. 200 feet until the path became shaded again. 100, 50, 10, and then I turned around and started sprinting. The trail crested, and I could see the parking lot. I didn't feel relieved. I wasn't safe yet. But I could see safety, and so I allowed myself to hope. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a flash of white. I turned and saw her bounding towards me through the trees. She had come around and was looping towards me. At the speed she was going, I was sure she'd get to me before I made it off the path. Somehow I managed to push myself, and I heard her shriek again, a sound of pure animalistic frustration and hunger as I made it back into the sunlight of the parking lot. I flew past the ranger's station and fumbled with my keys. My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped them. I managed to unlock my car and get in, locking it again. I started the engine and put it into reverse, swinging out of my parking bay without even looking. Slick came running out of the station, a look of shock and suspicion on his face. I rolled down my window a fraction and yelled at him to go back inside and lock the doors. He hesitated for only a second and then hurried back inside, closing the door behind him. I didn't stop trembling for the entire 45 minutes it took me to get home. I don't know what she was. I don't know what she wanted, or what she was going to do to me if she had caught me. What I do know, though, is that after that one and only hike, I've never felt safe again, and I have never shaken off the feeling of being watched. I keep my lights on at home all the time. I avoid the shade, my shadow, now a thing of safety and comfort.